Let's rewind just a little bit to earlier this year. At the beginning of 2023, I had released a video talking about how I was switching back from gold to silver. The reason for that video was that we saw the premiums for silver start to subside from their sky high levels in 2022. It was a very good sign. We started to see silver rounds under $3 an ounce over spot, silver eagles coming back under $10 an ounce over spot and getting lower. And unfortunately, it didn't last long. I was very excited to release that video, but then March 2023 comes about, and I think many of us know, if not all of us watching this video, know what happened in March 2023. We saw the SVB banking collapse, and we saw a lot of people freak out and run back into precious metals. Now, we spoke to a coin dealer from Minot Coin and Bullion, and he told us after this had happened that March 2023 was the biggest month he had ever seen for his business. In fact, he told us that March 2023 had more sales and business than his entire previous year. 1 month more than his entire previous year. And that wasn't just him. A lot of people told me the same thing. And as a result, we saw the premiums for silver go right back up. We were again looking at $20 an ounce over spot for silver eagles, $6 or more depending on where you bought it for silver rounds. Some places you could find it cheaper. But we did see those numbers increase. We started to see delays in ordering silver and more. Now, I have noticed that the delays have really subsided, but additionally, I was at a coin show not long ago where I also saw the demand for silver subside as well. In fact, if you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link down below. You can definitely go watch it. But there were a lot of dealers at that show struggling to sell silver, whereas just 6 weeks ago, it was a no-brainer. Everybody was buying. So what is happening? Well, we're going to find that out today because that coin dealer that we spoke to in March, who said that he had the best month ever, and the month that was better than a whole year, he's back on the channel today. So we are going to welcome back Josh from Minot Coin and Bullion, and we are going to get his insights as to what's going on over the last few weeks. So let's welcome Josh back to the channel from Minot Coin and Bullion. My channel is sponsored by sdbullion.com. New customers can get their first order of gold or silver at spot by going to sdbullion.com/new. All right, guys, so we are back with Josh from Minot Coin and Bullion, one of my favorite guests. It's always a pleasure to have him on. Josh, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. You know, a lot of people like listening to you on the channel, so I really appreciate you joining me as often as you do. And I just want to let you know, he has a channel as well, so if you guys want to check out some awesome YouTube content, I'll put a link in the description below. But Josh, I wanted to get into it today, and we're going to talk a bit about demand. And the reason I want to bring up demand is because, I don't know if you saw the video, but I was at a coin show last week, and there was a lighter demand than expected for silver. Like, I'm talking bullion silver, eagles, rounds, 90%. There were a lot more people looking for numismatic coins. Is that the norm, or was it just that show? How's it going in your shop?
Oh, good question. Well, I can tell you in my shop, demand really on everything has really waned quite a bit. We saw, our busiest month ever in the month of March. Of course, that was during the bank failures, and a lot of first timers were getting into buying metals and silver and gold coins. So March was a month like we may never have again in terms of sales. Frankly, the month of March was as good as some of our average entire years in terms of sales. April was about half of March, and May is probably going to be about half of April in terms of sales. So we're definitely seeing a downturn in demand. As far as traffic, I'm still as busy traffic-wise. I still get people in here. Once I open my door, I essentially have a customer standing in front of me the whole time I'm here. But the big buyers aren't buying right now. I think maybe the people who were making large purchases bought up all they felt comfortable with during the craze as it was running up in March and April. So now they're just kind of looking at their stacks, probably frustrated that silver's down. That's kind of my take on it. But I don't know. I suppose every part of the country is different, but I'm surprised to hear that about the coin show. And I did see the video, actually.
Okay.
But we had a coin show in Bismarck, which is our state capital. Granted, this was in early April, so it was still kind of during the craze. I unfortunately didn't make it to that show, but know pretty much all of the dealers that were set up there and talked to many of them, and they all had their best shows ever. Demand was crazy for not just bullion, but numismatics as well. So to me, that showed great promise for the collecting hobby. But flash forward 6 weeks, you put out that video about the show you were at, and it was the complete opposite. So, or not the complete opposite, but partially opposite, where bullion demand was essentially zero.
Yeah,
So I don't know. It's strange.
It is strange, and it wasn't expected. And I didn't go to the show, to sell a bunch of stuff. I took stuff with me, obviously, but that wasn't really my intent. I go to the shows like that. Like that one was put on by my friend Ravenhawk Coins, and he did a great show. He puts on like 4 shows a year, 2 in Mustang and 2 in Norman a year. So he does a lot of coin shows, and I always like to go and support him at least once a year and get down there. But it was surprising, and it wasn't just Rob. Like I had walked around the show, and there were a lot of dealers. I didn't really talk to many of them about it, but I saw the same silver in their case at the end of the second day that I did on the beginning of the first day. And so I think a lot of them were kind of caught off guard as well. But when I was talking to the dealers, they said they had, a lot of them said they had good show, just a lot more numismatic demand. So do you see a shift? You said you still have the same amount of people and just not many big buyers. Do you see a shift to like numismatics?
Not really. Quite honestly, I mean, I probably sell 10 to 15% numismatics, the rest in bullion. And that's pretty, I'm talking dollar amounts, that's pretty typical for my shop. And I haven't seen much of a change in that.
Okay.
There's still some people that like to buy collectible coins, but still most of my traffic is bullion. It's just that those large purchases, somebody coming in and wanting to spend 5-6 figures are few and far between now. For a while, it was every day. Somebody was coming and wanting to do a big buy during the big frenzy, I guess, in March and April. But it's a little different in my neck of the woods.
Fair enough. Let me ask you this. So you had said March was your best month ever, almost a year's worth of sales in 1 month. And then April was half of March, and you're expecting May to be half of April. Comparatively to last May or to your typical sales, what does that look like? Like, is it still like increased versus what you expect, you would normally expect in normal times?
I'm going to be pretty flat, I think, compared to last year as far as sales. So I think, we don't have many days left in the month, but if I had to project out for the next 7 days, I think I'm going to end up about the same as I did last year in terms of sales for May.
Okay.
So not really seeing any growth. You can argue if it's flat, maybe that's even like a decrease.
Yeah.
But I'm still happy with that. I mean, like I said, I'm still getting a lot of traffic. It's a lot of new people, but they're buying small.
Yeah, that's fair.
So,
and with seeing that traffic decrease, I do actually, as a YouTuber, notice that as well. Not obviously from a sales perspective, but just from the amount of people viewing videos, I will notice a decrease when things are calm. And I think a lot of it, just kind of plays into, like you said, in March, the big banking scare, and everyone freaks out and they always run the metals, and then that scare kind of goes away and they get back to normal life. And it really just takes like one thing to trip it, like one catalyst, to send them into a frenzy again. So how do you prepare for that as a coin shop?
Well, I've always believed in keeping a healthy amount of inventory on hand. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. I think we maybe had talked before when early March, when premiums and spot price was quite low on silver. You had done a video on it, and I actually did one too, standing in the airport in Denver, just to piggyback on that to give my customers information. That was kind of the time that I encouraged people to buy, because low spot and low premiums typically don't coexist for very long. And of course, shortly after, both price and premium broke out on silver. But prior, leading up to that, I was really aggressive in stocking inventory. And because I did, I was able to have such a great March in sales. And really that kind of snowballed into April as well. Because as you remember, we got to points where if I were to order silver rounds from my wholesaler, this was in March, for a while, yes, they were live. Well, a day later, now we're 2 week delayed. A few days later, pretty soon it got to 6 weeks out. And I literally just got the rest of the silver I ordered in March last week.
Wow.
So how crazy is that? But I was aggressive in building my inventory prior to the. I mean, I didn't know the big failures were going to happen. That was just dumb luck. But I knew with low price and low premium, it was a good time for me to load up to have it on hand. So I did. But then, of course, we got to the point where it was flying out the door quicker than I could replace it. Pretty soon, orders are getting pushed out a month and a half. But I still have a fair amount of product because this whole time I've been replacing. So I'm really well caught up on inventory. So I feel like I'm ready for the next breakout.
Gotcha.
So, but we will see. I mean, it might not be long if we have another frenzy like we did in March and April.
Yeah.
There's going to be product delays again.
We'll see what happens. So let me ask you, now that the frenzy is simmered down and you're back to, like you said, sales are flat from last May, what are premiums starting to come down, and what about delays from the wholesalers that you work with? How is that coming around?
Premiums haven't come down very much. Truly, they haven't. There are still some good deals on sovereign bullion. Some things you can actually get on the wholesale side pretty close to the price of silver rounds. And there was actually a time where I could get sovereign bullion. I'm talking Armenian Noah's Arks and Austrian Philharmonics were the main two that I was stockpiling. I could buy those cheaper than silver rounds, and they were live. So I could get them shipped, that day, where I could order silver rounds and have to pay an extra 10 or 20 cents an ounce and wait a month. So it's kind of a no-brainer. What do you buy then at that point? So I've been selling a lot of sovereign silver because that's what I was able to source and get.
Out of sheer curiosity, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but why would that be? Why would it be cheaper, but why would it be live when no one can get buffaloes? Why wouldn't they just order that? I mean, obviously you did, but why do you think someone wouldn't?
Well, I don't know that everybody was aware of it, quite frankly. You kind of get in situations where, typically the cheapest silver 1 ounce piece you can buy is a privately minted silver round. It's a buffalo or whatever design is available. Because of that big, buying frenzy, as I talked about in mostly March, but some of April, orders got so far backlogged, and it was literally 6 weeks. I maybe even waited 7 weeks to get some of my stuff. Orders get so backlogged, and as that happens, they raise premiums, because they have to kind of hedge too, not knowing, God, what's silver going to be like when I can deliver this in 7 weeks? So premium steadily climbed. And at that same time, everybody was ignoring the cheaper sovereign bullion. I would even throw Britannias in there. Britannias were cheap for a while too. Krugerrands were cheap for a while too. Pretty soon, the spreads got on par with each other. And then, we still had people coming in, I want to buy silver rounds because I know that's cheapest. So the shops then would go out and order the silver rounds because that's what their customers want, not realizing that premiums on sovereign bullion are essentially on par and in some cases even cheaper. So I have a really great wholesaler that I use, and actually I'm going to give him a call and do a Zoom interview here tomorrow and talk about the wholesale side, but he's great about informing me of that. He'll just reach out to me, hey, just so you know, this doesn't happen often, but sovereigns are cheaper right now than rounds if you want to pick some up.
Wow. That's awesome.
So
I was just going to say, it's great that he reaches out to you and lets you know that as well.
It is. He's a great guy, and I love working with him. But I just think a lot of dealers maybe weren't aware of that because, as I said, customers, the mindset is always, well, what's the cheapest silver I can buy? Well, the stock answer from a dealer is always, well, you buy the privately minted silver. If they want 1 ounce pieces, you buy rounds. Okay, yeah, I'll take 3,000 ounces of rounds. So now the dealer has to call the wholesale market or the wholesaler and order that, not even checking on what might be cheaper for him or the customer, or the dealer or the customer, I should say. So I think that happened, but it only happened for a short time. It's flipped back again where sovereigns are a bit more than rounds.
Gotcha.
But there was an opportunity there that a lot of people probably missed.
Oh man, that's crazy. All right. Well, speaking of that, and you had talked about spread. What is the spread looking like? Like what, if you don't mind me asking, like for example, for 90%, what do you buy in your shop? What do you pay for 90% and then sell it for? And then what about rounds and other stuff?
Well, are you talking what am I buying across the counter and wholesale, and then what I sell for?
What do you buy
I
across the
can touch on.
counter, and then what do you sell it
Yep.
for?
Okay. Yeah. 90% has actually dropped also. Not only because spot has dropped, for a while, 90% was very expensive. Frankly, it still is. But across the counter, 90% silver, I'm paying 21 times face today.
Okay.
If you bring in $half, I'll actually pay 22 times face, just because I have to pay more for them if I order them wholesale.
Well,
I'm
there
pretty
you.
flush on halves right now. And the other side of that, if I were to order at wholesale, and actually I had to buy a bag of dimes because dimes have been the popular 90% in my shop. I can't keep dimes on hand. It's crazy. There's very few times in my 10 years of doing this that I've ever had to order 90% silver on the wholesale market, because usually I have a steady flow coming in the shop from people selling the States, or they have a little bit here and there, and it really accumulates. But as the price of it got so high, it started selling more during that March and April frenzy. I mean, there were times I was selling it at 27 times face, which was still cheap compared to some of the big online places. But to get back to it, I just ordered a bag of dimes and had to pay 21.9 times face wholesale.
Man.
So if I'm buying it across the counter, I just told you I pay 21. Selling it, I'm going to be on dimes. I'm going to be today. I'll be 20. I'd have to do some math. The number would be kind of clunky, but it's probably around 23 and a half. And then on halves, it'll be 1 times more, so 24 and a half.
And nobody can hold you to that, by the way, because obviously when this video comes out in 2 days,
well, markets change. Yeah,
we're recording
it could be different in 20 minutes.
We're recording this for you guys watching on Wednesday, but this won't release until Friday, so this could be totally different by then. Who knows? But yeah, Josh, so, the reason I had you on the first time ever on this channel a long time ago, outside of the fact that you recognized that it was you that I had talked to, was your buy and sell spread was so good even back then that it's always good to have a good dealer on, because I'm sure you've seen a lot of my coin shop calls, and there's a lot of good dealers out there, but man, there's some rough ones. Like I spoke to one yesterday, or on Monday's calls, I mean, that offered me 15 times face for 90% silver. That's way back of melt. It's like, what is going on? And do people say, like, I always say that if a coin shop's not willing to give me their prices on the phone, I'm not willing to go to that coin shop. But I think if I were that coin shop, I just wouldn't give prices on the phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it makes you wonder, is there anybody that's even selling at that price? But the unfortunate reality is there probably are, because some people just will sell it to the first place and not seek more information or other offers.
Oh man, I've spoken
I would
against
encourage
that.
people to do that.
Yeah, I've spoken against that so many times. I've told people over and over again how important it is to shop around, and that's it's the primary reason I do those videos. Outside of the fact that people tend to like them as well, but I really just like to show that to people how important it is. So many people just, like you said, walk in and take the first offer they get. I know of the story. I may have shared this with you. Did I ever share with you the story about the bucket of 90% at the gold buyer?
No.
Okay,
no,
so
I don't think so.
In the area that I live in, I'm not going to say the name of the company because they are still around, and I don't want to, get in trouble for slander or anything. But I had heard the story from a guy who had walked into this gold buying shop, and this lady had came in with her husband had passed away, and had came in with this bucket full of 90% silver, and she brought it in to see if they would tell her what it was worth. Well, the guy who was standing there was watching this all go down, and the person who worked behind the counter at this gold buyer shop said, "Oh man, this is all just face value change, like dimes and quarters." He said, "I know it's kind of heavy. If you don't want it, we can count it up and give you the money for it." And straight up counted it in their machine and just handed her face value. And he said, "I was looking at it. It was definitely silver."
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really sad.
It is. Yeah.
That's really sad.
So it's just one example of not taking the first offer. And what's really sad is this lady was taken advantage of. She was an older lady, whose husband had just passed. She told that to them, and they didn't care. They're just like, yeah, whatever. We're still going to take advantage of you. I don't get it. So people need to find good shops like yours and a few others that I talk to on this channel. I only like the interview to good ones. The bad ones, I was just, why would I even have you on here? Other than to say, why do you do this? I don't know.
Yeah, I think, and I've been to shops, well, not all over the country, but in different areas of the country. Most, if not all, to me in my mind, have been good shops. So unfortunately, it's the bad ones that kind of give the whole industry a bad name. For many years, I had a competing shop in Minot here, which is now closed actually. Um, that shop was around for probably 45 years and did similar things to the bucket of 90% that you just explained. I heard those similar stories so many times from my customers coming in. Like they had an aunt that went to this other shop, and one of the stories was a woman went in, similar situation as you described. Her husband had passed away. It was either a $5 or a $10 gold piece, pre 1933 U.S. gold. I forget which one. Went into the shop. He offered her face value
Wow.
for that gold coin. She knew better and knew it was gold. Ultimately, this was many years ago before I even was in business. I don't know what she ended up doing with it, but she had the wherewithal to not sell. But not everybody does, because not, the spouse or the children or the grandchildren that inherit this stuff as people pass on aren't always informed of what it is that they're going to get. So I always encourage people, and I tell this especially to my older customers, boy, make sure your wife or your kids understand what you're buying. Because what I hate to see happen, and I've heard about it happening, as you just described, you know, the elderly gentleman passes away. His wife ends up with his coins. She has no idea what they are. She brings them and takes the first offer, or she sells them at the garage sale, or she tries to bring them to the bank. I've had plenty of bankers in my town tell me about all of the stuff that people try to bring in to just cash in, but they always redirect them to me. And I've had people in tears before when I offer them, quite a bit of money over face value for what they're bringing, because they thought they just had, just a normal quarter or a normal $half or whatever. So it really takes a community of people to protect those that are uneducated that end up with those collections. But unfortunately, there are some bad dealers out there that are going to take advantage of those situations, and that's really sad to see.
It is, and I say all the time, I believe there are more good shops than bad shops. But like you said, it always takes a few bad apples can stain an entire market. I mean,
It can.
it's really unfortunate. I get comments from people all the time talking about how coin shops are rip off artists and all this other stuff. I'm like, no, it's really not. Like I've been to so many good shops. But I mean, like you had just spoke to with that shop in your town who's not out of business now out of business. There are bad ones out there too. And one thing I like to tell people, and maybe you can speak to this, is like the shops I've been around silver and gold, my entire life. And the shops that I see that are still around are always the ones that tend to treat their customers fairly, because maybe they don't make as much off of each customer that walks through the door, but those customers keep coming back. And my dad used to always say, it's better to make a nickel off of somebody 5 times than to make a dime off of them once.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So
Yeah, and the best advertising you can do, or you can have, I should say, in any type of business really, is word of mouth. So, it's been my experience, and I've talked to you before. I own some Burger Kings in my city too, and for every, you know, um, good experience that your customers have in any kind of business, they might tell, one, two, or three people about it. For every bad experience that a customer has, they might tell 10, 15 people about it. So negative publicity and negative feedback sure spreads a lot quicker than positive feedback. So you really got to treat people well so they have a good experience. So when people are talking about your business in the community, it's the good things about your business, not the bad, because like I said, bad news travels a whole lot faster.
it sure does.
Unfortunately.
It
Yeah.
absolutely does. Well, Josh, I think that's all I had. This has been a long one. We've been on here for over 22 minutes at this point, so I'm gonna let it go there. But as always, is there anything you wanted to share with the audience? Before we get out of here.
No. I just want to thank you for including me on your channel. I've enjoyed your platform for many years, and you do great things, and I appreciate all the different types of videos you do, and the fact that you give businesses like myself to get our voice out there and to help promote small YouTube channels like myself too. It really means a lot.
Anytime. And again, guys, I'm going to put his channel link in the description. Make sure you go give him a subscribe. He would definitely appreciate it. And Josh, thanks again. I hope to have you on again soon.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right, guys, so again, that was Josh from Minot Coin and Bullion, and as always, it was a pleasure to have him on the channel. As I've already said many times in this video, make sure you go check out his YouTube channel if you want some more great content. Additionally, check out this video above me if you haven't seen it yet, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.